the rescue worker.
Stories of daring rescues capture our attention. The selfless rescuers inspire us with their determination to save others. Their actions challenge us to ask, would I have done the same? Jesus is the ultimate daring, determined, and selfless rescuer. He put it all on the line for us. He held nothing back, but gave everything to save us, the ones he loves. And he asks us, would you do the same for the others I love? Jesus invites us to join his rescue efforts, to bring people back from the brink to the safety of his love and kingdom. But how do we do that? What does it take to be a rescue worker for God's kingdom? That is what Rescue Workers is all about.
In October 1987, 1.5-year-old Jessica McClurry fell down in an empty well at her aunt's house in Texas. She was trapped 22 feet below ground for 2.5 days as rescue workers tried to get her out. Finally, they decide to drill another shaft next to the well, dig a tunnel between the two shafts, and pull Jessica out.
Jessica's rescue really showcases human determination and compassion. Her story points to a larger one, a story we're all in.
God offers us an even profound rescue than Jessica's. He reaches down into our brokenness and pulls us out.
He also rescues us from ourselves, from the sin that harms us from within. God rescues us and then transforms us into who he created us to be.
That's right. He develops us into a spiritual maturity. God enables us to become more and more like him.
It is a transformation from the inside out. It's for our benefit. And it is to empower us to benefit others, to be rescue workers with God.
Exactly. And to join God's efforts as a rescue worker, we need to have roots, edification, service, community, upbringing, and evangelism.
Last week, we talked about roots, how growing our roots deep in Jesus stabilizes us, nourishes us, grows us, and builds our resilience. What are we going to look at today, Douglas?
Today, we are talking about edification. It is the process of spiritual transformation or being changed from one thing to another.
In this case, we're being changed from our sinful selves to being like Jesus.
Precisely. The transformation flows up from our roots in Jesus. When we spend time with him, we will be changed.
It is not something we can manufacture on our own. We can't will ourselves into being like Jesus. Our transformation depends on our daily connection with Jesus.
Many of us are familiar with the phrase, by beholding, we become changed. I think it is worthwhile to look at the whole verse. So all of us who have had that veil removed can see and reflect the glory of the Lord. And the Lord, who is the Spirit, makes us more and more like him as we are changed into his glorious image. This verse shows us that we look and the Lord makes us more and more like him, changing us into his image.
That is so beautiful. And yet, it goes against what we often feel we need to do. So often, the impression that we need to do something gets in the way. But Jesus said, remain in me. Those who remain in me and I in them will produce much fruit.
We often think our fruit is the good things we do. But the fruit is also our edification, Our ability to reflect God's image in a kind of fruit that shows the world who we belong to.
So, what are the ways that Jesus transforms us? What areas of our life will reflect his image?
Those are great questions, Rebecca. I can think of a couple, but what about you? Do any come to mind?
Um, One area that comes to my mind is just that my mind. Is my mind transformed to be like the mind of Jesus? Do I believe as Jesus believed?
I would add, is my character transformed to be like Jesus' character? Do I live the way Jesus lived?
We can also look at how we interact with people. Are our relationships transformed? Do we love as Jesus loved?
Yes, that's a great indicator. Jesus said, your love for one another will prove to the world that you are my disciples.
Our spiritual habits must also transform. We know that weight training makes us stronger. Well, the spiritual habits makes us stronger too. Habits like prayer, study, worship, and fellowship. So do we train ourselves as Jesus trained himself?
Good point. Are we reaching for the tools Jesus reached for? To prepare ourselves to meet our different tasks or challenges? Which makes me think of our service. Has the way I serve others transformed to look like how Jesus served? Do I still have personal pride involved? Am I still wondering what I will get out of it? In short, do I minister as Jesus ministered?
That's a good one too. That idea of personal pride ties into another area of life, our influence. Has my influence been transformed to be like Jesus' influence? Do I use my influence to lead as Jesus led?
I cannot wait to dive deeper into these life areas that transform when we root ourselves in Jesus.
Me too.
We covered a lot just now, but there is so much more to learn. We'll go into each of these points in future episodes.
For now, we can focus on putting down roots in Jesus and letting Him edify us, letting Him transform us day by day into His image.